Mind Your Subconscious is the podcast that provides you with techniques and knowledge about your subconscious mind, the part of your brain that lets you control your ego and create an extraordinary reality with your thoughts. We invite meditation, hypnosis, NLP, EFT, and other experts to help you master the most powerful part of your brain. Your host is Jennifer Schlüter, who quit her job as managing editor of 22 newspapers to travel the world and work online just after one hypnosis session. A nomad ever since 2016, Jennifer is now a certified hypnotist and helps people transform their dreams into reality. Hey guys, we're here with Alta, hypnotherapist, and she will tell us about herself now and introduce herself.
Hey, Jenny, thank you so much for having me. First of all, I'm really grateful for you, your podcast, and all the amazing things that you're doing. So I honor you, divine goddess. You're amazing. I'm a subconscious mind behavioral therapist, specialized in hypnotherapy and NLP, and we do a lot of things. I say we, the collective consciousness in my practice. And so it's just been a beautiful journey. And so I'm open and available to anything and everything that you want to know. And yeah.
Thank you. So let's get started with how did you get into hypnotherapy?
Well, I remember I was like 18 and my mom had this Peruvian friend. She had traveled all over the world and she gave me a book from Dr. Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters, which many of us have taken that journey, and just seeing like the amazing things that he was able to do in his own private practice, being such a skeptic and really operating from the left side of his brain and so analytical, and how past lives and inner healing had really just touched his clients. I started thinking from that young age that like, wow, the things that I felt kept recurring in my life at that point. I felt at one point, I was like, yes, it must be my past life. And there's a hypnotherapist. I literally only thought he was the only one in the world. And I would imagine me flying half across the country and begging to be his pro bono client. And I was going to sit outside of his office and do the whole shebang. And so, fast forward years later, just like dived into hundreds of books on the topic. And yeah, one thing led me to another. And I ended up at a Hypnosis Motivation Institute over a decade ago now. And it's been just such a rewarding journey. That's really, that's really how I ended up here, healing, self-healing.
And do you remember by any chance your first hypnosis session that was done on you, as well as the first one that you gave?
The first one, I think my first experience was, there was intro courses, and in the actual intro courses that they had provided at the hypnotherapy college, before you actually committed to the entire intensive program, you were able to try 1 month of the entire curriculum. And in the curriculum, they taught you how to create induction cycles. And so my first taste of hypnosis was actually with people who knew just as much as I did. And so we were all practicing on each other. And I just remember it was a big room. There was maybe like 30 or 40 of us. And you would just see all of our hands flying up and down, like hitting our heads. And you'd see like all of these amazing, cool things you think were only stage show. But, we were able to learn just the basic induction. So yeah, that was my first taste. It was really cool. And my first session with clients, well, that was my first session too, as well as giving, because we were all practicing on each other.
And how did that go? Did you already start healing then, or were you guys all too inexperienced?
I think we were able to, at the moment we were taught, because we were, such novices, and, not understanding the complexities of the subconscious mind yet and the complexities of psychological impacts that happen. We were guided to just give general well-being suggestions. So the general well-being suggestions, yeah, most definitely you feel them instantly. You feel them immediately, like after the session.
And what made you stay after that 1 month of trial?
It was embedded in my soul. It was literally a divine calling, because from the time that I had read my first books, it had been maybe like, there was probably about like a 7-year gap, maybe a 7 to 10 year gap, in which I had, somewhere along the lines there, I'm literally time distortion. What's interesting is that time gets so distorted now because I'm constantly in hypnosis, going in and out with myself, with clients every day, day in and day out, that the time distortion. But somewhere along the line there, I just knew, the synchronicities in life, that I had put it out there, the consideration that it didn't even exist. I didn't even really know that this was a career path. I had spent so many years in psychology and understanding behavior, human behavior. And so it wasn't just a cognitive thing. When I found that there was a whole program that was dedicated to that and diving deeper, it was a no-brainer to me, knowing that, like, yeah, we can go deeper. I love that. The Scorpio moon in me.
Now, do you think you have like a certain style of hypnosis? Do you like to solve a certain kind of problems for people, or do you take care of everything? Like, what's your niche?
Yeah, my practice throughout the last decade has really changed a lot. It's definitely transformed. I would say every 3 to 4 years, it has completely transformed. I started my first years on a very clinical standpoint. I had a brick and mortar business, and I would work on all of the clinical topics that would come in. So I had a lot of psychologists referring clients. I had a lot of, cases in which didn't dive into the spiritual realm, really. It was more medical based. And so my first years—
Can you give people examples? Like, yeah, what the medical base is?
Medical bases at the time, in those times when I was seeing clients, it was sometimes referrals from insurance cases where they had deep psychological things happen after traumatic accidents, where we would have irrational phobias. We had a lot of I had a lot of transformation, fitness transformation. That was one of the areas that really intrigued me as well, because it was something I was currently working on. So I would do a lot of that, which also required medical referrals to go down that area and the clinical aspect. After about 4 years of doing, I would say it was kind of like it was more surface compared to what I do now, because of the emotional connection that I now have with clients. In that time, I would see clients maybe, it could be because hypnosis has such an impact. I could see clients anywhere from like 1 to 3 to 5 sessions because of the conditions that they were coming in and the things that they were working on, quit smoking, little things like that. And now my practice is completely different. And so fast forward 10 years later, like 10,000 sessions later, it's a synergy of life coaching, a synergy of clinical therapy, and a synergy of spiritual coaching. So we do the hypnotherapy, I embed NLP techniques, and I take clients on for a 4-month basis now. So I tailor the entire programs, and we do a full intensive, like we'll do a life harmony wheel on every sector of their life. And so I'll help them with reprogramming not only their mindset, but their behavioral standpoints. They're, doing a lot of inner child healing work. I work with a lot of women now. I'd say 90% of my practice is women, and I love it. It's amazing. They feel like soul family. That's another thing that's definitely changed. The type of clientele that I work with really are tailored to, like, they feel like family. And I no longer work out of a brick and mortar. I have a tailored, like, curated client base that comes to see me. We do sound bowl healing, binaural beats. I see them weekly. We will include all aspects, mind, body, soul, spirit, in every which way. And so it's very night and day different than what I would have done in the past, which is so much more fulfilling because I get to know them on deep, deep emotional levels, and their commitment bases are 4-month stretches from the very beginning. So, it's like it's something happens subconsciously for a person when they know that they're all in.
That is beautiful. That really does sound amazing. So if you're doing all of that, is there anything you wouldn't do anymore or anything you wouldn't do at all?
Yeah, I personally now I don't feel as gratified when I do the things that I used to do in the first years of my practice. It's not as fulfilling for me now where I am, just spiritually.
Okay. And what makes people come to you? What makes your clients come to you, do you think?
I'm so blessed, Jenny. I really, truly am so blessed. I would say that 70 to 80% of my practice throughout the last decade is based on referrals. And so it's been such a gift. I think that I have a very deep level of intuition that when somebody is present, I am so immersed in their healing, so immersed in their joy. And I think the level of enthusiasm integrated with the knowledge base and the experience and being able to create such self-reflective cycles within them where they feel empowered, not only to come to the realizations when we're together, but though to use those tools effectively and integrate them on their own once they're not with me, which is the goal, right? Self-sustainability and self-healing and self-empowerment, and really just to create ripple effects. That's how we raise consciousness.
Yes, absolutely. So what do you love about hypnosis?
Oh my goodness. I love everything. I love the fact that you can rest your body and travel into the infinite space of your mind. And you just recognize that you are infinite, literally. The more you practice, and the more you keep doing the regimen of showing up for yourself every single day and doing those things, it's just beautiful. The instant effects, the emotional impact, the freedom that you can feel. Literally, hypnosis has changed everything in my life, on a deep emotional level, which is one of the reasons I went into the whole practice, was because I felt a lot of internal, unresolved emotional darkness for most of my life growing up. And so hypnosis changed everything for me. I live in such an internal state of peace and joy that it feels almost hypocritical if I were not to share the gift with other people, because that's it's I found gold that's infinite, and we all have it. We have the access of our subconscious mind. And so it's beautiful, and it's fascinating, and it's exciting. And, 10 years in, and I'm still so in love.
I can hear that, and I can see that. And I know this from personal experience as well. And so can you give us some more specific examples with what exactly hypnosis has helped you with, as well as your clients?
Yeah, you know what now? The last 2 to 3 years, I work with women mainly, and who are getting out of breakups, who are healing the lineage of their past relationships, and to get to know themselves. And so with that, the self-empowerment, and I really focus on self-love now. And to do that, really, we go back to the origination of self-friendship and where that distorted with oneself along the line. And so we do a lot of internal work along that space. So it's really helped me, as well as my clients, in that capacity to learn to develop a deeper relationship with self and a deeper ability to really just navigate and operate and show up differently in the world as a result of all of the intrinsic changes.
That is beautiful. And can you give us an example maybe of one of your clients, how their life has changed thanks to hypnosis from you?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. One of them that came to mind, he was more not the spiritual client, Esau. He's an awesome, awesome guy. I saw him like years ago, and I remember him greatly because we have trauma cycles at times that happen in our lives. And when this particular client was a child, his in his environment, his mom would get brutally beat by his father. And so he created a defense mechanism subconsciously in which he blocked out any memory of them. And so with that, as a defense mechanism, you think about it, as a child, he can't leave the structure of the household. He has no ability to protect his mother. And so the fight flight mechanisms that he would experience subconsciously, he would flee internally. And because his body couldn't actually flee situations, he would create these defense mechanisms where he would block things out that were painful, like the blood, the beating, the verbal attacks. And so when I met Esau was about 36 years old. He committed to doing a 4-month program with me. I was probably one of the last resources. He had tried everything under the sun. Very successful man, though, because his defense mechanism was created at such a young age, it actually moved all the way into his adulthood, where he actually couldn't remember things on a day-to-day standpoint. He would carry a big notepad in his pocket, and he would have to write everything down, the way he would go home, his 5-year relationship girlfriend's name, things that had happened, big anniversaries, all of these things. And the guy was so brilliant, but it would create almost like, have you ever seen a dog that is wounded and he comes back the next day and he has the wounded trauma cycles, but he comes back so happy, not knowing that he's being wounded by the same person over and over. Yeah. So Esau had this same thing going on in his life, where when we started putting in the mechanism subconsciously that now as an adult, his mom had left the relationship years ago. She was safe. He now no longer needed the defense mechanism to create the amnesia effect. We started creating reversal cycles, which had a double edge, it had a double-edged sword effect, because in the span of him seeing me, a piece of him didn't believe that it was going to work. And so he didn't tell anybody that he started therapy and that he had started coming to me. And so he started actually having photographic memory, because he had over-exercised for so many years, the skill sets of being able to create, just like use the muscle to have even a little bit of a retention of memory, whereas most people, it's just that much easier. When we changed the mechanism subconsciously and reprogrammed that for him, his ability to remember things became so impressive. And he was immediately promoted to the top director, regional director of all of the construction sites that he would manage all over California. He quadrupled his income. The downfall was that he actually realized that he was getting verbally abused by his girlfriend, because he had an amnesia effect. He wouldn't remember the next day the things that she would have said. So now in the space of remembering, he actually realized he was living in a volatile environment, just like he had grown up in, something he had recreated. So we worked on getting him out of that relationship, healing him through that heartbreak, and empowering him. And then through the alignment, he ended up losing 40 pounds, looked hot, just put himself out there, started having all these activities and such a great social life, feeling just so rewarded and proud of himself for everything he had achieved. And he was one of the first experiences, I feel, that really impacted me to want to move down the direction of healing heartbreaks, because I know what that's like, healing that aspect. And so Esau was indebted forever. He's been able to now, he's just I can't even, he always periodically emails me, and he's just I remember everything. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful. You've changed my life in every dynamic. And so that's just one of the many things. I get so many emails, and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That sounds really, really incredible.
Thank you, Jenny.
Did you ever have like a weird request, somebody asking you something weird to do with hypnosis?
Yes. Yes, I have. I remember I went to, in the spiritual community, it could get a little woo-woo. And so you go to events and all these things. And I remember encountering some people that were really deep into like tantric things. And so I remember that I was at an event, it was kind of like a festival, and they wanted me to do like a tantric hypnosis guided for them for a couple people, but the nudity and all of the things that were being requested and where they were taking this, I definitely did not feel comfortable at the moment creating like a group arousal. So yeah.
Okay. I see.
It was a little too vivid. But, yeah. So there's been some out of the boxes for sure.
Okay. And is there anything you struggle with, any problems you face, any clients who do not want to get hypnotized or who are afraid or something? Like, is there anything you're struggling with?
You know what's interesting about I fully feel in life, like what mirrors back at us in energies have a lot to do with what we put out. And I remember maybe it was like the first year of my practice. I used to be scared of the whole practice. And so I would attract people that were scared of hypnosis because I was putting it out. So now, a decade in, I never attract anyone that is in fear. Everyone's only excited. They are more than willing to dive in. They are just like above and beyond. So the level of enthusiasm is completely different.
Okay. And is there anything that you struggle with?
Yeah, I'm like a never ending project. It's like, the refinement project is never ending. I will never stop growing. And so what's beautiful is that because we do a lot of the life coaching, a lot of the breakthrough exercises, a lot of the things that we work through as well in hypnotherapy, and the life harmony wheels of everybody's life, there's no possible way that I can work with so many clients and then not look at my own life and see like where I'm not growing, because then that really breeds like an inauthenticity, and I am just not about that life. So yeah, I'm constantly working on everything, my inner child, my internal dialogue, my friendship with self, my love with self. I'm constantly working on my nutrition, my fitness, my, personal growth, my social circles, my interactions with just with spirit, really, my interactions with the universe. And so, yeah, the struggles, I would say, would be more so my struggles now, where I look at my struggles are in the primary family role structure, where my level of development and willingness to grow on a personal development sometimes doesn't match and mirror those that are in my family structure. So knowing so much, it often causes inner child healing to have to come up when I'm in certain environments where I can still see toxicity that I've worked through that causes reversion in me, or that I feel that state of emotion, which is beautiful because the universe literally mirrors back, within seconds, days, hours, minutes, clients that need the same type of healing. So what's powerful is objectivity, because as somebody else, I can see into somebody else's life, it really mirrors back that of what I'm constantly working on. And it really breeds for a gentle observer and a compassionate space within me. So I think that that's where, my main struggle would come up is the primary family, the primary family roles of getting them on board to change their own patterns of communication and catching themselves in it. I was listening to Wayne Dyer the other day, and I loved how he put it. he puts 3 levels of enlightenment. And he says that the first level, you know, if you think about Mr. Miyagi and Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. And he talks about, and levels of enlightenment being like chop wood, chop wood. You can imagine someone doing the activity in the forest, chop wood, chop wood. So when first level of enlightenment is you're chopping wood, though you don't really know as you're doing it, you don't really have much foresight because you've never done it. And so you're barely developing hindsight. So now, you know, you're like chop wood, and you're like looking back at your life. Oh, I get it. Now I see why I had to go through that thing. So first level of enlightenment being hindsight. Second level of enlightenment being, you know, here you are, chop wood, and now you're in it. Whatever's falling apart in your life, you're like, oh my God, there's got to be a gift, a blessing, something in this moment. You know, the insight comes in. And so still chop wood. Now you move to the next level of enlightenment, which is now level 3, which is you're like chop wood. But because you've had hindsight, you've had insight, you now have foresight. So you can actually predict the things in advance. And so really I look at this journey, and hypnotherapy has provided the bridge to all of those levels of enlightenment. So I'm just grateful. So grateful, Jenny. I'm so glad you're on this path as well.
Yay. So, and then also tell us, what do you think is the most powerful thing about our subconscious mind?
The most powerful, elaborate a little bit more. There's so many avenues to go down.
So basically, this podcast I want to bring the subconscious mind closer to people, and I want to bring its power closer to people, because a lot of people don't know that our subconscious mind is people are still fighting about this, but it's about 95% of our brain, and people don't use it. Some are afraid to access it. So first, let us know what you can recommend to people who are afraid of accessing their subconscious minds.
Well, that's the thing, Jenny. I think that, the people who operate from fear, I think that's the first indicator that you definitely, that's the invitation, right? When we notice low frequency emotions that are fear, that's the opposite of the spectrum of love, which when we're operating from an infinite space and a knowingness deep inside that we have the faculties within us that are so available to that, then it really is the invitation. So just noticing the emotion of fear, I feel like, is the indicator that yes, you need to move down this direction to tap into something other than what you're experiencing. And so within the subconscious mind, we really operate on the law of cause and effect. And so with the subconscious mind, it's kind of like mental fitness. It's something that needs to be a repetitive practice. You can't just create a one-time cycle and accept and hope for magic, really. That goes back to like the affirmative cycles, when someone says like one affirmation, but if you spend 99% of your day in the opposition and being negative, of course the affirmative's not going to work. And the same with, the subconscious mind and really learning to use the faculties within. I feel like it's a repetitive practice, just like the gym, just like anything you do. You can't eat one salad and expect for your whole life to change. The same with the faculties within your subconscious mind. You tuning in and you tapping into the powers within you really require an intentionality and to dedicate a sector of time to be able to use and learn about them, to do them. And so I really think about things in a 4-part process usually. And so when we learn something, we need to then conceptualize it. We need to take it in to actually even journal it. Maybe if you have an epiphany to your subconscious mind, it's very interesting. It's learned knowledge and applied knowledge. So the law of cause and effect has a lot to do with tapping in to learning a concept or reshaping a new philosophy, and then actually creating integration where the activity is in alignment. And so the cause, hence the effect, and really just continuing the process over and over, rinse and repeat, being mindful of the activities, the thoughts, the alignment of emotion. And I think that that's why it's important to have hypnotherapists and to have, healers out in the world and, change agents and all these light workers, because we are the problem and we're the solution. And so having someone externally be able to guide us and to empower us and reflect a mirror back at us in a gentle, loving, kind, uplifting, stern, affirmative way, so that we can break free. It's crucial.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And then since you were mentioning earlier that your family is not like you are learning sometimes a lot more than other parts of your family, do you struggle with that? Have you accepted that? And what can you tell people who are also going through the same thing?
Something that I would have struggled with years ago that would have kept me in a level of a low frequency emotion on the emotional spectrum scale, right? If you Google, if anyone Googles, they can look up an emotional spectrum scale and they can see all of the spiral of emotions that we go through. No one's exempt from the emotions, right? And so something that I would have struggled with, let's say with a family structure, where there was possibly a toxic pattern in communication, then that would have spiraled me into a level of unworthiness or something inside where it would have made me feel less than. It would have taken me possibly months of, to get through that. Then throughout the years, it would take me weeks. Then throughout time, it would take me like days and then minutes. Now I have an ability to create a sense of observation where I can almost like float behind my thoughts and float behind the situation and observe that that's the mirror reflection of the experience of what they're going through right now, that they're operating on their programs, and that it really has nothing to do with me. So I no longer identify with their behaviors as me being the catalyst or me being at fault or taking ownership for that of what's projected onto me. So it's definitely changed everything. And as a result, their behaviors, their language, the way that they operate with me has mirrored and changed. But yes, there's times where I do see deep reversion, and it takes me a moment of having to pull away and have healthy boundaries to be able to come back and honor my deepest healing, honor my deepest, the deepest part of myself, which has taken this time to really truly invest. And so I don't allow myself now to take it personal, as much as those things in the past would have really hindered. And so for anyone who's struggling with family, what I've noticed in family structures, because they're so close to one, if you start creating personal development changes and in your communication, in your thoughts, and your behaviors, they tend to, if they've known you a really long time, you have to be so consistent in your patterns that it takes anywhere from 3 months to 6 months to a year of you being diligently consistent in these new behaviors before they even start to believe that this is the new you. And just because they start to believe and or see the evidence of that doesn't mean that they're on board for their changes internally themselves. So it could take years to actually see other people change as a reflective. Though, if they're willing for growth, if that's one of their unconscious mechanisms that they really are desiring and that they're thriving off of, it doesn't take that long. I see within clients, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I have a client tonight. This is one of the problems in his family structure as well. With his deep, long relationship, he's a doctor. He's also a hypnotherapist, which is amazing. Everybody needs help, right? And so we're doing a 4-month program. And in his household, he has been in a relationship for like 3 years, and the stagnation in the growth of the relationship had a lot to do with her not being able to see all of the internal changes that he had been making on his own. And so we've started working together. It's been about 5 weeks, and all of a sudden the entire dynamic of the system in his household has changed. She immediately has started working on herself, has started seeing the catapult of growth. And because he has a support system outside of what he experienced, people don't want to get left behind. That's really what it is. When people like love someone, they want to go on the journey as well. And so the same has happened within my family. They've seen the level of improvement, the level of peace in my being, having overcome so many spite cycles as a teenager. I remember back then, and now seeing the level of growth, they too don't want to get left behind. So, they ask about books now, they do ask about seminars, they ask about podcasts and sermons and, all kinds of anything that they can get their hands on, that can help them. Obviously, this is my profession. And so my daily watering of this area is so much more than theirs. So naturally the expectation, it's like the expectation is no expectation to just be happy that they're making progress and be happy that my emotional state is at peace. But yes, people around, you got to stay consistent, and you got to have support systems outside of the family structure, so that if you're experiencing them not growing in the face of you growing and it's still causing reversion cycles, that's why it's super important to have accountability circles, because in the state of transition, you need that. It could be a minute before they jump on board.
That was extremely powerful and helpful, I think, to a lot of people out there. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Jenny.
And let us know what's next for you. What are your plans? What's going on?
Yeah, what's next? So I've been now creating, as a result, I'm creating right now inner child healing circles. So in LA, we're going to be doing like inner child healing circles. We do like sound bowl healing circles as well. And just giving back, paying it forward in the community, finding so many ways just to create ripple effects and bring people together and create soul family, because there's a lot of wounded people out there in the world that are in isolation. And one of the main, symptoms of depression is isolation, where people create this feeling of separation where they feel like nobody is connected. And so my intention and what's next is just to bring more like-minded souls together, more healers together, create more powerful communities where all of us together can light another candle. A candle doesn't lose any light by lighting another. And so, keep paying it forward, keep putting good content out there in the world, helping people, all of the above, traveling, doing all the love.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so glad to hear that. And let us know where our audience can find you.
Yeah, most definitely. I have a website. You can hyperlink to a podcast I run on there. I have a whole hypnosis store with downloadable sessions on there. I make them so accessible for anyone. I have free ones, super economical ones, just for everybody to have access to healing. And you can find me at www.loveyourselfmadly.love. And yeah, I'm there.
Yay. We will also link to everything, of course, in our podcast notes. And thank you so, so much, Alta. It was a really, really amazing podcast episode. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your wisdom. I appreciate everything you do. Lord knows that you have helped me a lot also. So thank you for everything.
I'm so happy for you, for your travels, for your healing. I know you're healing so many people as well and helping people break through and in different arenas. And that's what's so powerful about this work, that, we can take it in so many different avenues and creating just that momentum wave. And so I am honored to know you, to be here, to share time with you, and to experience your growth and witness it. So Jenny, keep doing you, babe. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too. Love this episode of Mind Your Subconscious? Subscribe, rate, and leave a review on whichever platform you're listening. It's very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Catch our next episode every Monday.